Scientists, those crazy kooks in white uniforms sitting in labs all day, they are working on an obesity pill, and what they say this thing is going to do is that it's going to turn bad fat into good fat, and if there's anything Americans like, it's an easy way to eat all the shit that they want and maybe not put on some fat, although generally Americans don't have a problem putting on the fat as is. Anyway, let's look at a little more info. Harvard Stem Cell Institute has identified 2 compounds that can turn white or bad fat cells into brown, good fat cells in the body. When a person eats too many calories and doesn't burn them off, they're stored as white fat cells, causing a person to pile on the pounds. The brown fat cells burn excess energy, reducing the number of white fat cells. Okay, every commercial that we see on TV every day is for a pill that'll give you a boner, or it'll keep you awake, or put you to sleep, or stop your legs from shaking, or make your legs shake, or give me something.
I haven't heard of the one that makes your legs shake.
Well, I'm sure I think a side effect to some of the other ones make your legs shake. Some will make, you know, what else? Potential, the smoking ones make you want to commit suicide. Then you can take another pill to not want to commit suicide. Anyway, the point is, this is progression, right? Now, of course, we're going to do this with weight and fat and all that.
Yeah, I mean, if there was something out there that actually worked, it'd be interesting to see, but I keep seeing different diet pills, different miracle pills, and none of them ever do anything. Yeah. It's just like, go exercise and eat right. Like, I don't understand why that is like so hard for people to like just adopt.
Well, and I see this as being 2 different issues, right? What we're talking about are kind of weight loss things that are not FDA approved, that aren't real medicine, that are sold in infomercials late at night. This has the potential to become a real pharmaceutical, and I think it has the potential to help people with gross obesity, with severe obesity. I mean gross like big, not gross like disgusting. Got it. Severe obesity that's causing real problems in their lives medically. Generally speaking, people who are that obese not because they can't stop eating, but they're that obese because they have other issues at play, and this could be a potential treatment for them way down the road. Now, I think my problem with the way that science is often reported is, for example, right off the bat, good fat and bad fat. White fat cells are good or are bad fat. Brown fat cells are good fat. Yeah, well, depending on your perspective, if you're talking about whether or not I want to be obese, then yes, brown fat is better. White fat is worse because white fat contributes more to obesity.
So when I always say that avocado is a good fat, or grass-fed butter, good fat, we're agreed on that, right?
That's a totally different thing.
I can keep putting the grass-fed butter in my coffee?
Yes, because those are monounsaturated fats, which are not as bad for you. Hard thing to say too. But we're talking about fats that you eat, different types of triglycerides. Here we're talking about the cells in your body that store fat, the adipose tissue in your body. A lot of animals have brown fat, animals that hibernate, it keeps them warm in the winter. Babies have brown fat, that's why they're so squishy, but then it falls away really quickly. The issue is that brown fat and white fat also contribute to other things. So they're already finding in these early trials, they haven't even really started doing clinical trials on mice yet, I think they're in the early stages, that this pill could totally fuck up your immune system. Right.
So to that point, I want to get to what you said, which is just eat right and exercise.
Well, I mean, like she said, there are some people that this could really benefit, but my concern is that people are going to use this as an alternative to a healthy lifestyle and throw the rest of it out the window. And I mean, later on in the article, it talks about how they think like part of the reason for being overweight is not because it's because of serotonin levels. So they want to get something that targets serotonin, and then you won't have this problem anymore. But then if you continue reading, and it's like, and part of the reason for serotonin levels being so high is because of all the fast food that they eat. It's like, okay, well, if you could just cut out the fast food, then you wouldn't have the serotonin problem, you wouldn't have the obesity problem. So it's like they almost like
And doesn't exercise help your serotonin levels?
Yeah, and it's like, you know, exercising and eating right makes you feel good. You know, even if it's not going to shed a pound from your body, you should still do it. And I'm just afraid that something like this is just going to be another excuse for most people. You know, it's going to be like the next diet, you know, fad. People are just going to, you know, go with it.
So that's the part that I think is interesting. Yes, obviously there will be cases that if they can figure this thing out, it could really help the extreme cases. But we live in a fast food nation where you know that this pill 3 years from now is going to be marketed the same way Viagra is marketed, or whatever it is that you're seeing on TV all the time. And then just the average person, instead of eating right and going to exercise.
I'll just get the good fat.
Yeah, and there will likely be detrimental health effects that come along with it because
the commercial will have 3 extra minutes.
Yes, every medication that you take, it's a risk-benefit analysis. There are people who need meds, and they have to deal with the side effects that come along with those meds because it's still more worthwhile than them dealing with the health problem that they would have before they medicated. That's the way it works. And I think that one of the bigger issues here is that in our culture specifically, we see the correlation between being thin and being healthy, and we look at that like it's a gold standard. So instead of being concerned about health, we're concerned about the way that we look.
Yeah.
So like you said, good diet, good exercise. Some people aren't ever going to be that skinny, but they could be very, very healthy. Some people who are really skinny have really terrible arteries. They have, unhealthy hearts. And just because you take a pill that converts good fat to bad fat, that's not going to do anything for the hardening of your arteries because of all of the cholesterol that you eat. It's not going to do anything for the other detrimental health effects of eating poorly and not working out. So if you're that vain, if that's all you care about is the way that you look, maybe this pill is for you. But I would recommend trying to be healthy first because you're going to live a longer, happier life.
Speaking of the vanity thing, I watched a movie a couple of nights ago. It was this tiny movie with Scarlett Johansson, came out about a year ago. I think it was called In Her Skin, am I right? In Her Skin? Under Her Skin. And it was this tiny little movie. Basically, she plays this alien that's wearing human skin, but she's naked in a lot of the movie, like a huge portion, full frontal nudity.
Yeah.
And she's probably 8 pounds heavier than what is always seen on in the movies or television. And I kept thinking that she actually looked great. Like she looked like a woman is supposed to look, not like what we see of him. Like she looked healthier to me. And I was thinking, I don't know how nobody talked about that. I hadn't even heard of the movie. I randomly came across it.
It's a struggle. I'll admit, like people who have been watching me for the last 5 years, they probably know that when all through high school, all through college, I was a very, very, very skinny, tiny little person. I weighed like 95 to 100 pounds. And only within the last few years, hitting 30, taking antidepressants, quitting smoking, all of these things contribute. And now I would consider a healthier weight. My BMI is finally in the normal range.
Right.
I'm not like considered too skinny or underweight, but at the time, on camera, I looked fucking great. And now on camera, I struggle because some days I go, this is me and I'm healthy and I feel good about this. And other days I can't help but compare to the ingrained, sociological kind of expectation of like, am I fat? Like I look in the camera and I go, oh my God, I'm fat. I weigh 125 pounds, which is a normal healthy weight for a woman. Every day I say, once I get to 115, I'll be better. I used to weigh 105, so I weigh 20 pounds more than I did most of my life. And as somebody who has a pretty strong sense of self, as somebody who's on camera all the time and is kind of like, fuck you, I'm happy with this, I still struggle. And so can you imagine what it's like for girls who weigh 135, for girls who weigh 140, and they're still healthy. That's the thing.
Right, and that's why I brought that up.
I can promise you, I'm healthier now as a non-smoker, as somebody who eats a lot better and who exercises more than I ever was when I was just sucking down cigarettes and caffeine every day, but I was super skinny.
On that note, is Cara obese? Should she use the obesity pill?
This is what we're gonna do now. Avoid reading the YouTube comments.
Yes, do you have
Oh my gosh, I just want to say, but I just wish people would focus on health and not looks. I mean, I know that you said this a lot of different times, but I get so much shit sometimes for being too small. And
exactly.
I see it on your Instagram.
I have no eating problems.
And I used to have that same problem.
It's both ways, and I just wish people would stop focusing so much on what people look like and just be like, are you healthy? You are? Great.
Because as we now know, me having lived both of it, nobody's gonna be fucking happy. When I'm 105, I'm too skinny. When I'm 125, I'm too fat. Somebody's always gonna be like, you don't look exactly like I expect somebody on the cover of a magazine to look like. Well, you know what? They don't look like that either.
It's like the three bears. The porridge is too hot sometimes, it's too cold sometimes.
Taking the diet pill.
Be who you are and be healthy. I think that was the point that we took away from there.